What's up, riders? Old Man Ronin here. Welcome back to the channel. You know, we've got some weather moving in today, you know, rain, thunderstorms, the whole 9 yards. And I thought it'd be a perfect day to do an oil change in the Himalayan. But I want to make sure that the oil's nice and warm. So what are we going to do? I got a really cool place. It's fairly close that you're going to enjoy seeing. So let's go for a quick little ride. Stay tuned. You know, I decided to switch the camera around and show you this scenery coming up because it's a really small little area, but it's simply gorgeous, and it's one of my favorite places to come back and just look at. Let's show you this direction. It's just gorgeous. Like I said, you get a better look at the creek here on this side, but this high rock wall, let me get over in the middle here a little bit better. You can see the high rock wall, and it's just the moss on it, and it goes up about 100 feet above me. It's just really, really pretty. Wasn't that just a beautiful place? That high rock wall, that creek that's on one side of the road, and of course the single lane road right next to the 4-H camp. And man, I'll tell you, it's just, I mean, it's not very big, it's not very long, but it's just a really pretty place, and I really enjoy traveling on that road, particularly in the fall. But right now it's beautiful too. We had a lot of clouds, obviously, because of the rainstorms that are coming through, and they missed us. They missed us. We didn't get wet, but it really doesn't bother me this time of year, anyways. Actually, it doesn't bother me any time of year. I ride in all weather. But it's time to change the oil, and now that the engine is hot, and I'm waiting for the pipes to quit ticking, and once they're done quit ticking, the engine will still be warm, and then we're going to start changing the oil. So let's get going. And I'll tell you what, for you guys that's never done this before, it's really super simple, so have confidence. It's going to save you a bunch of money. You know, being in the restaurant business, as well as working on motorcycles my entire life, I use things that you might not think about, like a hotel pan and a hotel pan lid. Now these are obviously disposable aluminum, but they work fantastic to catch the oil so I can put it in a recyclable container later. But one of the things I use these hotel pan tops for is I'll take and I'll cut them, and that way it gives me a funnel, if you will, to get the oil away. Because you guys know how much I hate dirty motorcycles, even though the Enfield's in a dire need to get a wash, but I'm going to do that after I do the oil change. So again, hotel pan and hotel pan aluminum lid, it's a lot more stiff than regular aluminum foil, and it'll direct all that gooky oil away from the floor. And I always got paper towels and cat litter hanging around too, but that'll give me a way to direct the oil exactly where I want it to go, and not on the motorcycle. So that's a pro tip number one. Before we start to drain the oil, what I like to do is remove the plug here for the oil fill, which is going to enable the air to get in there and the oil will come out faster. Now we'll go start draining the oil. Well, the first thing I like to do is to put the pan directly underneath the motorcycle, and this is the main oil plug, and you can see there's a bolt there and a bolt there. I don't know if you can see it very well, but that is it's got a little screen in there to attract bigger debris. So we're going to clean that out as well too. But first we're going to drain the oil out. But if you'll notice, there's the edge of it is right here, and what I'm afraid of is stuff going to fly down here and get inside of this bash plate and all over the frame, and that's going to give drips forever. And I don't like to have drips forever, not only on my garage floor, but I don't want it in the environment as well either. So what we're going to do to avoid that, we're going to take a piece of that lid and we're going to shove it back under here. Now I had to cut a little bit of it to make it fit, but we're going to shove it back in here and form it so when the oil comes out, it runs straight down into the pan. And then we're going to unloose the bolt and drain the oil. The big old bolt here happens to be 21 millimeters, so we're going to, I don't have a socket that big, which I don't understand why I don't, but I don't. So let's loosen it up a little bit, reposition our funnel, and slowly pull it out. And then of course I saved another little piece of aluminum foil to put my pieces parts on. And we're going to let that drain out. Now as that's draining, I'm going to loosen these two little nuts, and these are 8 millimeter. And again, you got to remember guys, when you're working with motorcycles, particularly on the engine, this is cast aluminum. You really have to be careful with it. I use a lot of Loctite with it and anti-seize, both, depends on what I'm talking about. This here I'll be using anti-seize. And you see it's going to drip out even more. And we're going to clean this off as well too. But as you can see, I don't know if you can or not, but the oil's kind of looks like it would have ran right down in there. And then I'll show you this little screen. You know what's pretty cool? There's not a daggone thing in it. So that makes me happy. The engine does not have any loose parts or any shavings that are coming off. So that makes me extremely happy. We're going to let that drain a little bit more, and we're going to clean this off. I'm going to use some solvent to clean that off. While I'm waiting, I'm going to soak my new oil filter. And what I like to do is the little bag that it came with, I'm just going to pour a little bit of oil in there. And I love these little tiny clamps because I use these a lot. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clamp it to the side of the motorcycle here and just let that thing soak a little bit in the oil until I'm ready to put the new oil filter in. So, little pro tip number 2. And if you'll notice, I'm running a 20W50 oil. And the reason why I do that, in the summertime, with higher temperatures, I want a little higher viscosity. I'll do that in my Harleys as well too. I run a 20W50 almost year round, but then in the summertime, I'll go even higher, maybe a straight 50 weight, in particular if it's really hot. Now if I live down south in the really hot temperatures like Florida or out in Arizona or Southern California, places like that, I'd run a straight 50 in my Harleys and even this bike too. Well, now we're going to get in here and we're going to wipe this off really good. Maybe back inside a little bit, making sure that I don't have any debris. And I don't see any on the towel. Let's see, we'll get in there and wipe it off really nice and good. Making sure that surface is clean. And then what you're going to notice here, on this little screen, and I put some oil back on it to make sure she goes in properly, but it's got a taper to it. It's thick on this end and thin on this end. And you want to put the thin end area first. And of course, again, that traps big material. And then we're going to wipe off our plate. Now that our plate is fairly cleaned off, and again, I'm going to be doing a good wash job on this later after I'm completely done, but I've got the plate pretty clean. I'm checking and inspecting the gasket there, make sure there's no pinches in it. And before I get started with any bolts, I'm going to put a little bit of, this is anti-seize, and what this does is keeps things from you know, corroding together. So I've got one bolt here, and I'm going to put the plate on and run the anti-seize on it, and then start threading it. Get my other bolt, apply just a little bit of anti-seize on it. Not a lot. You don't need a lot. And again, this keeps it from corroding, and that way you'll be able to get it off and on every time. And then I'm going to slowly screw them back into where they're snug. You want to make sure you do it evenly so you don't pinch that gasket. And I use my hand, and then I'm going to use my little 1/4 inch on little bolts like this. I use a 1/4 inch, and I just give her a good snug. As far as the main plug, you're going to notice that little copper or brass bushing there. You want to make sure it's fine. I'm going to put a little anti-seize on that as well too, not much, and I'm going to run it in as well. That little copper bushing or washer will crush a little bit and keep it from leaking. So we're going to give it a tighten, but not overly tight, obviously. Again, you don't want to strip the threads. And again, just enough to snug it up. And then we can go to the filter side. So let's pull the oil pan over to this side and fix this up under here so we're not going to drain any oil onto our frame on this side as well either. And again, this is why I like this thicker aluminum, is because I can actually form it to keep it from having the oil drip behind it. And I can push it up against there like that. And that should give us the ability to do this without any issue. Hopefully, we'll find out. And these are 8mm as well too. Let's do this one. Now, guys were asking me questions when I first put the GV bars on. They said, well, I heard you can't change the oil filter when you have the GV bars. Well, we're going to find out. Now, if you notice, I left that bottom one in a little bit longer. And there's a reason for that. I don't want the oil to run into that hole, and so what I'm going to do is take it out last. And it's a longer bolt anyways. Of course, there's the gasket, and you can see got a little spring there. And we'll replace the gasket, obviously. Let's see if we can get the filter out. Easy peasy. Let that drain out and wipe it out. We can take that aluminum foil out of there. And guess what? No drips at all on the exhaust. We can wipe that out of there pretty nice and easy. But one thing I want to tell you before we start doing anything more is this little bolt I told you about. We're going to put a Q-tip down in there and see if we can bring any oil out, because what I found out just in life in general is a lot of times oil will get in there, and what that'll do is it'll cause some hydraulic action, and you could actually strip your threads or crack your housing there. And so we don't want to do that. So we're trying to get as least amount of oil out of there, or most amount of oil out of there as possible, letting that soak in there. I'm not twisting it around, but you can see it's come out pretty clean now. So I think we got all we needed out. And let's go back to our filter. And it's been soaking quite a while. So we're going to place that back inside, push it back in there a little ways. Our new gasket, I'm going to put a little bit of oil from the soak in there. And I'm going to attach it right there like that. Get the anti-seize and start bolting her back together before we start putting oil in it. And again, I like using anti-seize because what it does is it helps stop corrosion. We'll do this bottom one first, get it started. And again, it's going to be a little bit of pressure on it because of that spring. Just get everything started. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to tighten one side up all the way. You just want to run them in almost equal. And never use an impact wrench on this stuff, guys. Never. If you put anti-seize on it, you should never have an issue. Again, just keep going around the horn until you feel a little snug. And then you can go and tighten it up a little bit. There's a tight. There's a tight. And there's a tight. And then you go back and clean everything off. I had a little bit of drip there at the last when I was putting the filter back on, but we didn't get down inside of the crash pad. It just got a little bit on the pipe, and that's going to burn off really, really quick. Now, let's start filling it up full of oil. Oh, I wanted to show you before I fill it up. This is the part number for the, I don't know if you can see it very well, for the oil filter. And if you get a chance, I bought a couple extras, and so that way I have them to do these. This is the second one I put in. But yeah, this is the part number and what the box looks like. So now we're going to start putting the oil in. And they call for 2 liters after your first initial oil. It says 2.3 liters. Now, being a Yankee, I don't have any liter measurements. But what I do have is a red Solo cup, which is approximately 16 ounces. So we figure, what, a liter is 33 ounces. We're going to do 3 and maybe a quarter one and see where the oil comes in at. So let's get started with it. I'm going to speed this up because it's kind of boring. Well, let's fire up and see what happens. I think we're going to do is let it run there for about 3 to 5 minutes, let that oil get through the filter and everything else, and we'll be right back. Well, we let it run there for about 4 or 5 minutes, so we're going to turn her off and then let it drain down in and see how much oil's in there. And give us a few minutes and we'll be right back. Well, let's go check out that little inspection window and see how much oil's in the bike after we let it run and filled up with the little, red Solo cup. I know, right? Well, I think we're going to get close. Nailed it! Yeah, we got lucky on that one. I really do need to get a 1 liter fill cup so we can make my life a lot easier. But before we go, I want to make sure that we remind everybody to enter the contest for the Suparee 5 3/4 inch headlights. And it'll fit pretty much, it's universal as far as motorcycles, as long as you have this size of headlight. And it features, well, just look at the video. I'll put a little card up in the top there that you can check it out and see how much brighter it is than stock headlights. So, and they're really inexpensive. And you can also get a discount. If you don't win, we're giving away 2 of them. If you don't win, you can go to the website that I'll put below there and enter 15 Ronin 15 and get 15% off for a high quality aluminum, cast aluminum body. Like I say, the code is 15 Ronin 15 on the checkout, and if you go straight to the link, you'll get the automatic 15% right there, and it'll be down in the description. Well, I really hope you enjoyed this basic Himalayan maintenance video. If you did, make sure you get a big thumbs up, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell notification button, share and comment. Hey, that's the way you enter the contest too. Well, if you enjoyed the video again, ride safe, guys, and keep her on 2 wheels.